my name is Naren Patel. Kind of career in media has been about 30 years and out of home. I worked for a business called Primesight, which I was very lucky to get involved in very early in my career, and kind of went through a series of, so we floated it on the stock exchange. I sold it to Scottish Media Group, bought it back, and then in 2018 sold it to Global Radio Group. Had a wonderful, wonderful career in media. Towards the end of, middle of 2019, it was obvious there wasn't a role for me going forward in the group. And we had a very civil conversation, and I stayed on till kind of March 2020, and then finished, which is kind of just when the pandemic started. So I'm probably the luckiest person in media out there, where I exited just before things got really, really bad. In terms of this conversation, so as I said, I've had a fabulous career in media, and I think because I got in and got promoted really quickly, I never witnessed any sort of kind of racism or anything that really kind of held me back. I had a wonderful CEO who kind of took me under his wing when I was really, really young, and his mantra was, if he works hard enough, if he's smart enough, he's kind of good enough, really. And I was the MD of a listed business on the stock exchange at age 29, which kind of, I look back now and I go, God, that's pretty. You don't realize it when it's happening, but when I look back now, I go, wow, that's pretty impressive. But I was at a dinner in London, an industry dinner, and I sat next to a lady called Karen Blackett, who's been trailblazer in kind of pushing for diversity in media. And she said to me, Naren, how you doing, this, that? And I looked around the room and I said, Karen's black. And she says, Karen, me and you are the only non-white people in the room. And she said, do you not know any of the stats, Naren? I said, no, I don't. And she goes, well, media is at best 10% black and Asian, while London's about 40% black and Asian. So we do not represent the communities we live in or the audiences we serve. We're pretty awful about it. And I said, Karen, I don't believe you. And she said, what part don't you believe? I said, I don't believe London is 40% black and Asian. And I think it's because it's the industry I work in. I live in the suburbs, so I'm on the train into work, and I kind of in our bubble of where we go out. And she said, Google it. And I was shocked. So I was like, wow, I'm going to do something about it. And so I set up this mentoring organization called Media for All, where we provide mentoring support for minorities in media. So, the key problem that we have as an industry is, one, we don't attract minority talent. So, not a lot of Asians or people from black backgrounds know about the sector. They think about media as making movies or making TV programs or journalism. They don't realize most of media is actually about buying, selling, trading media, measuring media. So they don't know the jobs exist. So we're not very good at attracting the talent. And when it comes in, they look around and they go, God, there's no one here that looks like me, particularly in senior positions. And therefore we're really bad at retaining talent. So the Advertising Association in the UK did its first census ever for the ad industry. We had 16,000 respondents. And, as we expected, C-suite, 3% Asian, 1% black. In terms of population, 7% Asian, 3% black. So that's about 10%. And as I said, so really, really low. But the thing that surprised me the most, there was also a thing about what's your lived experience. And it was 1 in 7 had experienced some sort of racial discrimination, and 1 in 4 wanted to leave the industry. So I've just gone, God, that's pretty awful. For an industry that I love, that I've had a great time in, what can we do about it? So kind of I set this thing up. It's a social enterprise, which is kind of like a charity. I've got some sponsors from various organizations. And, I started last year with about 20 members, and I'm just under 300 members just now. So grown rapidly.
Wow. Tell me, Naren, why is it important for not just businesses in general, but, let's talk about media and advertising. Why is it important for our industry to strive for diversity?
Well, I think I always talk about the two reasons, and I'll start with the moral reasons. Um, and on average, people from Black and Asian backgrounds have 30% lower wages, 20% lower employment rates. So there's no question there is something to do about, kind of making sure, the business sector takes care of these problems. And in the UK, whatever it is, 82% of people are employed in the private sector. So we've got to do something about it. We can't rely on the government to kind of sort things out. But more importantly, there's the business reason. So McKinsey and Co. have done three studies on the impact of diversity. The last one actually said companies operating in the top quartile of diversity, I think, are 36% more likely to outperform their competitors, right? So this is not me. This is McKinsey, independent. And then you've got kind of some other trends going on. So the UK population, we're currently, as a total population, we're about 15%. I said London's significantly higher, but we're on course to be the most diverse nation in the world, overtaking the United States. So 30% of the population is going to be Black and Asian in 30 years' time, right? And these are future customers, clients, audiences, consumers. So if the ad industry doesn't get its, act together, how the hell are we going to, practice our craft properly? And so there's a bit around that. And the third thing for me is kind of the youngsters coming into the industry, the millennials. They have a totally different view on this. They won't stand for it. So the last stat I said is 47% of millennials will choose not to work for a company that's not diverse. So you've got a whole issue with attracting talent if you can't kind of solve this problem. So I think the business reasons are really, really simple. I think the problem is it's a really tough problem to solve unless you put some serious effort behind it.
Interesting. You talked a bit about attracting talent and how talent is, the various decisions talent is making on in whether they go to a company or not. Our company has hired over the years, and like many other companies, one of the first places you go to is you post on LinkedIn, hey, we're looking for talent.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in understanding how to diversify that, because I'm of the belief personally that we need to do something different. And when I say we, I mean the industry. We need to do something different about where we go to attract the talent. What are your thoughts on how do you diversify right from the bottom of your workforce?
So I think at the moment, a lot of companies are making it a lot of effort at entry level roles. Some of the big agencies are actually saying 50% of all our graduate intake is going to be from minority backgrounds, and therefore in 10 years we'll solve the problem. The problem with that is they don't stick around. So I think it's a noble intent, but it hasn't worked. I think the big problem we have as a sector is we're lazy. We rely on, particularly in the UK, we rely on referrals. We give employees prizes for introducing friends to the company. Yeah. And all we're doing is fishing in a small pool, right? As an industry, we are so creative, so good at getting things done, so good at implementing. I just don't think people put the effort in. There are so many industries with complementary skills to us, right? If we wanted to do it, you could do it. I think it's getting to the stage now where people are forcing managers, with some sort of quotas. And I think, sadly, unless there's some sort of incentive or / punishment, for managers to put real effort. And I always say to people, if you put the same effort into business growth and business profitability as diversity, you get it done. Yeah, but currently there's an easy way. There's an easy way of, right, we'll just hire this person. We know his friend who works for us, and, he'll be fine. Yeah. So I think the problem is it's that, I don't think the effort's been put in.
Fair enough. You talked a bit about retention there.
Yeah.
What important steps, assuming that we can start filling up the bottom, right, the entry level
Yeah.
positions, and you talked about people don't stick around. Are there steps that as an industry we can take, are there creative steps especially to ensure that those people do flourish and start to fill up, management and then senior levels of the C-suite?
Yeah. So all the reading I have done really says the best way around it is around sponsorship. So this is where you get senior managers, sometimes leadership level, and as these, young people come into the sector, you take them under your wing and you're responsible for them. Now, that might be seen as, they've got a bit of special treatment, right? That's one way of looking at it. Why is the kind of head of sales meeting with, this kid every, once a month and talking to them about their jobs? But actually everything I've read says that gives you the best chance of success, right? Because all of a sudden you've got someone senior championing your cause. You get to shadow them. Let's say if they go to a board meeting, they might invite you in there one day, and it gives you confidence. I mean, fundamentally, it's all around belonging. We've got Diwali coming up next week, right? And it's such an important festival for a lot of Hindus, right? And for companies to just go, guys, we know this is a big day for you, just take the day off. Yeah. Or, why don't you bring some sweets in or get a cake in, right? And I think it's about understanding everyone's needs, so I think the more you can understand their needs, the more you can understand their motivations beyond just money, right? I think that's when you got to win their hearts.
Yeah. That's so important. That's very insightful, what you just said there, Naren. Final question I have for you. What's next? In regards to all of this, getting unrepresented communities to be represented in media and advertising, from where you're sitting and the work that you're doing, what's next?
I think the thing for me that's next is advertisers voting with their feet. I've been speaking to more and more advertisers who are looking at some of the organizations in our sector. And you know what? There are some who are doing great work, right? There's some who are doing okay work, and there's some that are doing no work, right? And I think fundamentally, unless there are consequences, right, for not investing, I think it's really difficult. It's either legislation or getting punished by the customer. That's kind of the only two things that kind of can change it. But I think once, I don't know, if a major advertiser says, I'm going to start putting my money with companies who are really taking diversity seriously, and, all of a sudden, it only takes, it's always the monies on the edge that make the difference to a good year and a great year. Because generally, you're going to get what you're going to get across the year just because you've got good products and good companies. But to get that extra 10 or 15%, and I think that's what's coming. I've spoken to enough advertisers, post George Floyd. I think there was this outcry, and clients and advertisers seem to be ahead of the media sector in this space. They're ahead of us.
Excellent. Naren, thank you so much for speaking with me today. Before I let you go, if people want to find out more about Media for All and what you're doing, where's the best place for them to go? www.mediaforall.org.uk, or they can just email me at naren@mediaforall.org.uk. Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
No problem.
Power your advertising. Working with Active International enables you to fund your advertising using your company's own products, assets, or even services. We have over 30 years' experience connecting and bringing value to businesses all over the globe, helping many brands scale up into household names. Want Want to achieve more from your marketing spend? Contact Active International today.